So allow me to record the class so that those who will not manage to join will get the video. But remember, the video after downloading is not guaranteed that it will be clear. So you need to know that one, that the video might not be clear. It's not a guarantee that the video will be clear after I download them. So that is not something you need to know. So let us continue with this question for that setting that we were doing. Tulifika hapa. We were to get the steady rate or the equilibrium rate. So we were to get the steady rate or the equilibrium rate. So mimi nilikuwa nasikia nimechoka. Nasikia tu leo nasikia ni kama tu nimechoka. So we want to finish this question. We work on it. You can tell the others to join when you are kwa WhatsApp. You can tell the others to join. So tulifika hapo. Let us find the value of x, y. So x, y, and so we need to find the value of x, y, and z. So how do we find the value of x, y, and z? So this is how you do it. Now we say x times 0.9. So itakuwa x times 0.9 ni ngapi? Itakuwa ni 0.9x and then plus, so 0.1 times y plus then 0.05 into bracket 1 minus x minus y must equal to what? So must be equal to our x. That's equation number 1. We can enlarge the equation. Let us enlarge the equation. Where is that calculator? So let us enlarge this. Let us minimize the equation. So it's the same. 0.9x plus 0.1y plus 0.05 minus 0.05x minus 0.05y is equals to x. Should we correct the item together? Yes, we can correct the item together. This is 0.9x minus 0.05x minus minus x plus 0.1y minus 0.05y. Now is equals to, tukipeleka huko itakuwa minus 0.05. Tuweke hivyo. So that itakuwa ni 0.9 minus 0.05 minus 1. So it will be equal to minus 0.15x, 0.1 minus 0.05. Itakuwa ni plus 0.05 y is equals to minus 0.05. We call it equation 1. We call that one equation number 1. We go to the second one, your y. Twende kwa hii ya pili, this one. Itakuwa ni 0.3x 0.3x plus 0.75 y plus 0.15 1 minus x minus y equals to, must be equal to y. Must be, so is the board clear? Is the board clear? So you talk, don't type.
Yes.
Okay. So we correct the right time. Before we correct the right time, let us x plus 0.575y 0.15 minus 0.15x 0.15y is equals to y. Hapo mbaya. So let's move the right term together. 0.3x minus 0.15x. Hizo ndio ziko na x. Then that ya y 0.75y minus 0.15y minus y is equals to, so iende huko, minus 0.15. Let us do it. 0.3 minus 0.15. So it's equal to 0.15x plus 0.75 minus 0.15 minus 1. So this will be equal to minus 0.4y is equal to minus 0.15. This one we call it equation number 2. Now we can find the value of x and y. Let us find the value of x and y. So we have this equation 1 and 2. So we can find the value of x and y. So we say, so we can say that minus 0.15x plus 0.05y equal to minus 0.05. Then you have the other one, minus 0.15x minus 0.4y is equal to minus 0.15. We can use elimination because we have the same figure here. We can use figure na hii zinakuwa na x. We can do elimination method. Elimination method. So how do we eliminate? Do we add or do we minus? So we minus. So minus 0.15 minus 0.15 is equal to 0. So we need to less. So we less so that it will be minus. Then on the other side, 0.05 minus 0.4. Itakuwa plus 0.45y is equals to, now minus 0.05 minus 0.15. Itakuwa 0.1. So what will be the value of y? So y will be equal to 0.1 over 0.45. Is that one correct? 0.1 divided by 0.45. So mean apart at 0.22. So are you getting 0.22? 0.22? 0.22.
Yeah.
Ilikuwa which sitting question?
Question 2, 2018 November.
2018. So 0.22 ni sawa. Aya, we can find y.
Have a question.
Yes.
Why are you using elimination method?
That's good. But why are we using
Elimination method. Na tulikuwa kwa application on.
So application of matrix hapa ni Markov. Iko sawa? The Markov itself, but the method of computation now it is you to decide kama unatumia elimination ama matrix. So mimi nimetumia elimination kwa sababu ndio rahisi. But the application is Markov. So Markov, in what way are we saying that Markov is an application of matrices? Because of finding this transition matrix. Unaona, for example, that transition matrix, transition matrix is a matrix. Iko sawa? Are we okay? But you can use matrix if you want. Iko sawa? You can use matrix to find the value of x, y, and z. Iko sawa? Iko sawa? Are you okay? Yes? Tuko sawa hadi hapo? Yes, Rafael.
Tuko sawa.
Okay, let's find the value of x. So mtana mconfirm kama nimecalculate vizuri. Now we can use any figure. We can use the first one. Let us use the first equation to find the value of x. So we know from the first equation minus 0.15x plus 0.05 y is equal to minus 0.05. So let us find the value of y. Itakuwa minus 0.15x plus 0.05, tunaweka 0.22 equal to minus 0.05. So itakuwa ni minus 0.15x equals to minus 0.05 minus, so itakuwa ni 0.05 times 0.22 is equal to 0.011. So minus 0.15x equals to minus 0.05 minus 0.011. So it will confirm 0.61. So what will be the value of x? It will be minus 0.061 over 0.15. So 0.061 divided by 0.15. So we have 0.4. 0.41. 0.41. Are you getting 0.41?
Yeah.
Are you getting 0.41? The value of x. Then tunamalizia the value of y. So we don't need to compute y. We know x plus y plus z equals to 1. So the last values, there's no need. So we know x is 0.41. We know y is 0.22. Now our z must be equal to 1. So what is the value of z? Z will be equal to 1 minus 0.41 minus 0.22. So what will be the value of z? So z is 1 minus 0.41 minus 0.22, which is 0.37. 0.37. 0.37. So what can we say? This is our steady rate. Now our steady rate will be equal to 0.41, then 0.22, then 0.37. So remember, this rate is the rate which would stabilize. So this is the stabilizing rate. So meaning to remain constant, meaning to remain constant. Are we okay up to that point? Yes, Brenda. Yes, mko sawa hadi hapo? Mko sawa? Okay, so let me share something here. I want to share something over here. Okay, before I share that something, let me just talk about the state of transition matrix. State of transition matrix. State of transition matrix. So allow me to wrap this now. State of transition matrix. Tumesikia na Markov. State transition matrix. Though we have talked about it, anyway, we have talked about it, but there's something I want to show you. state transition matrix. State transition matrix. State transition matrix, and we can see now, we can say this is a rectangular array. You can say this is a rectangular. This is a rectangular array which summarizes the transition probabilities. Which summarizes the transitions probabilities. Which summarizes the transition probabilities for a given Markov process. For a given Markov process, for given Markov process. In such matrix, the rows identifies the current state. In such matrix, the row identifies the current state. So in such matrix, the row identifies the current state of the system being discussed, of the system being studied. The system being studied, while the column now what does the column state identify? So the column identifies the relative states. The column identifies the identify what? What does it identify? It identifies the alternative states. Identify the alternative states. So alternative states. So this one identifies the alternative state. This one identifies the current state in which the system can move. In which the system can move. So I want to do a question. I want to give you a question that we can discuss it together, so that we can consider together, so that we can explain what it is that we are talking about. So let me so steps. Before we do a question, steps used in transition matrix construction. So what are some of the steps? So we have 3 of them. So we have just 3 steps. Number 1, step 1, calculate retention probability. Step number 1, calculate retention probabilities. So if you could look at the questions that we have been doing, so ukiangalia swali zilizokuwa tukifanya, if you could check them clearly, ukiangalia swali zilizokuwa tukifanya, we have been provided with the retention probabilities. Ukiangalia wanatuambia that 80% was retained, then a particular percentage was transferred to others. Now from the question that tumekuwa tukifanya already, tulikuwa tushapatiwa what we call the retention probabilities. Now in some question unaweza pata wamekupatia swali, they have not provided you with the retention probabilities, so you need to know how to calculate the retention probability. So you need to know how to compute the retention probability. So in some question, so this is what tumefanya the last 3 questions that tumefanya in our in the morning hour class. It is clear that we were provided with the retention rate, but in this case, now what if you have not been provided with the retention rate? Now how do you do it? How do you do it? So this one is calculated by, it is calculated by, so it is calculated by dividing the number of customers by dividing the number of customers. So it cannot, sometimes inaweza kuwa sio customers, inaweza kuwa ni other item. So for example, napenda kama we have our items is customers. So maybe in some other questions you might find it is not customers. So but for now I'm assuming it's customers. So it is calculated by dividing the number of customers retained. Customers retained by the number of the customer originally served. So it is calculated by dividing the number of customers retained by the number of the customer originally served by the number of customers, the number of customers originally served. You can give a formula. Let's give a formula. Number retained is equals to number retained is equals to original number served, original number served minus, so we can less number lost. Number lost. Number 2, number igere. Calculate the probabilities associated with the gains. Calculate probabilities associated with the gains. So step number 2, calculate the probabilities associated with the customer gains or losses. Let's use the word customer. Customer gains or losses. So calculate the probabilities of the customers, or calculate the probability associated with the customers gain or losses. Now we start with the first one. For customer gain, now for customer gain, how do we do it? Divide the number of customers, divide the number of customer each entity has gained, divide the number of customer each entity has gained, divide the number of customer each entity. So divide the number of customer each entity has gained by the number of customers served. By the number of customers, by the number of customers served by the source of gain. Served by the source of gain. So that's number one for customer gain. That about for customer loss probability. This one is about for customer gain probabilities. Supposed to be for customer gain probabilities. So number two, so that's A. Number B, for customer loss. For customer loss probabilities. For customer loss probability. For customer loss probability, we say divide the number of customers in each entity as lost by the number of original customers served. So divide the number of customers in each entity lost. We say divide the number of customer each entity has done what? Has lost by the number of customers served by the source of the loss. Served by the original number of the customer it's served. Now that one is correct. So that one is correct. Now we need 3 items. So when we are calculating our transition matrix, so for example, this is a transition matrix. So we need 3 items. We need 3 items. For example, so this one is from, and the other one is from 2. So that's an example. So we are saying this is our transition matrix, for example, and we have from and 2. Now we need to compute the retention. Now retention, once you compute it, you wake up. For example, kama ya kwanza, what sema ni x, y, z, x, y, z. So retention, for example, x retained that one, y retained some amount, and also z retained the amount. So that's number 1. We need to compute the retention. And how do you compute the retention? So for you to calculate the retention, you can it is calculated by dividing the number of customers retained. Customer retained by the number of the customer originally served. So andike your formula mahali. Let me note it down somewhere. How do you get it? Unachukua the number of customer retained. Number of customer retained. You divide it by what? I want to note it down. You divide it with the customer originally. Number of the customer originally served. Number of customers originally served. And then we also need to compute number 2, this item. So we need to compute the customer gain and the customer loss. But in most cases, we shall be using this one very much to get this figure. So remember what we retained and what was lost. So what was lost in Akuja hapo, for example. So what was lost? So X lost some amount to Y and some amount to Z. Just the way we are doing the other question. You kuja kwa Y retained some amount there. Then we had some amount that were lost to the others. So if you go from this side to this side, it represents the number of items that were lost. Now Z retains some amount, and then there's some amount that were lost to Y, X and Y. But so hiyo ni kama unaenda hivi in your transition matrix. So hivi. No, but kama unateremka ukue very keen. Kama unateremka, then you should be talking the amount that is gained. Now, apart from what it is lost, so they are apart from what they are retaining, then there's some amount that they are gaining from Y and Z. So X is gaining some percentage from Y and Z. So can even gain, can even loss. But mostly we shall be focusing on the loss because that one is the easiest. So that's step number 2. Step number 3, and then we do a question. Using the step 1 and 2, construct the state matrix. Number 3, using the step above, step 1 and 2 above, construct the transition matrix. So using the step sinivute tu hii haitusaidii. Hii tulikuwa ilikuwa tu ya kuonesha. So tulikuwa tushafanya swali, you know how the way we were doing it in the other one. So already you know what we were doing when we were doing the other questions. But number 3, in step, using the steps 1 and 2, using the step 1 and 2, formulate. So you can formulate a transition matrix. TM means transition matrix. TM or the state transition matrix. State transition. Oh, I just said it. State transition matrix. State transition matrix. The state transition matrix. And then you say the retention are listed in the main diagonal. The retention are listed in the main diagonal. The main diagonal. So the retention will be always be listed in the main diagonal. Because the for the main diagonal will be listed in the main diagonal. Upper left to lower left into bracket. Upper left to lower left to lower right. Sorry. So inaanzia hapa left huku juu, tukiteremka chini, tunaenda hivi. So inaenda in that format. Now, let's talk about the remaining entries. So, what about tumesema the main diagonal? Ndio hapo. Retention listed in that form. Now, what about the other entries? So kuna entries hatujasema. So huyu. Now, how do we do for that one? And then we say the remaining entries will be determined as follows. The remaining entries will be determined as follows. Will be determined as follows. Number 1 or number A. Number A. Now, if loss probability, if loss probabilities are used, comma, if loss probability are used, insert them in appropriate row. Third, insert them in appropriate row cell. So row, is it vertically or horizontally? Yes. We'll talk about the row. Is it vertically or horizontally? Yes. Is it vertically or horizontally? Tukiongelea row. Yeah.
Horizontal.
Is it horizontal? Sasa hapo ndio sasa shida inatokeanga. So you divided between the row and the column. Now, what about Brenda? What do you think? When you talking about the row, is it horizontal? So horizontal inamaanisha hivi. Column ni hivi.
For me, I
Everybody-
know roses horizontally. From my high
Horizontally.
school chemistry. Yeah.
Okay, we shall see. Okay, let us compute. Let us continue, then we shall see. So tunasema if losses probabilities are used, insert them in appropriate row cells of the state transition matrix. Of the state transition matrix. Of state transition matrix. Number B, the last one. If gain, because it is either we have a retention, a loss, or a gain. It's either we have a retention, a loss, or a gain. If gain probabilities are used, if gain probabilities are used, if gain probabilities are used. Now what do we do? Insert them in appropriate column. Insert them in appropriate column. Insert them in appropriate column. Insert them in appropriate column cell of state transition matrix. Of state transition matrix. So I'll give an example. Okay, let's do this quick example. I'm going to share with you. So who will read for us? Let me share the screen. Can you read the question?
Two manufacturers X and Y are competing with each other in a very restricted market. The state transition matrix of the market summarizes the probabilities that customers will move from one manufacturer to other in any 1 month. Interpret the state transition matrix in terms of retention and loss and retention and gain.
So can you explain that one? What's our retention rate from X to X and from Y to Y? Can you tell us the retention rate? Who will give us the answer? Nione nani atapea answer. Geoffrey, give us, explain the first part A. And make sure you screenshot the question, because nikitoa, you shall not find the question again. So screenshot that question. Now, you are required number A to explain number 1, retention and the loss. And number 2, you are supposed to explain the retention and the gain. So screenshot the question. Screenshot the question. Elish, Verir. Have you screenshot the question?
Yes.
Now, atatujibia part A of that question. So how do you explain part A, the retention and the loss, and how do you explain the retention and the gain? Yes. So now I have to explain here. So let us start with Raphael. Rafael, tell us the answer for part A. Retention and the loss. Give us the answer for retention and the loss for that question. Yes. Kujaribu pia sio mbaya. Tupokuwa tukiongelea mambo na retention, loss na gain na penye zinaenda. So with those figures, we have 70%, we have 10% somewhere, or what? So you are not trying. Okay, let us answer the question because no one has tried. So let us from. So we have from x and y. Then we have xy, that is 2. Then you have 0.7, 0.3, again 0.1, 0.9. So number A, we will talk about the retention and loss. Retention and loss. So if you find that one in an exam, how do you explain it? You explain. Now, according to the data of row 1, so according to the data of row 1, so hapa tutajulia which one is row, which one is column. In the coming month, manufacturer X will retain 70%. We retain 70% of its customer, and lose. And losing how much? How much will they lose? Naweza jaribu.
0.
Lose ngapi? 0 point. Hey. So how much will this customer lose?
30%
Yes, Geoffrey. Yes,
30% manufacturer.
From manufacturer. Even though I'm not explain. Yes, that's how you're supposed to explain. What about according to the data of? Let's continue also. But Jamariza, according to the data of row 2, according to the data of row 2, now mnipatie hiyo. How much will manufacturer X retain or gain or lose? So tumetoka kwa X. So tumetoka kwa X, tunateremka kwa Y. Tunaenda kwa Y. So according to the data of row 2, what can we say? In the coming month, manufacturer Y will lose what? Eh?
Y lost 0.9 and retained 0.1. Y retained 0.9 and lost 0.1 to X.
So Y will 10% to X and retain 90% from Y. Sivyo? Tunasema hivyo? To X, and we also retain 90% from Y ama to itself. Just to itself. Now let's go to part B. So that's how we're supposed to answer that question. Let's go to part boy. Retention and gain. Retention and gain. Now, how do we explain the retention and gain? So the data of column Y reveals. So wacha niwapea kwanza. The data of column 1 reveals that. Now, what does it reveals? What does it reveals? So it reveals that manufacturer X, ama X, will retain 70%. And again, so again ngapi? And again, so hii inateremka sasa hivi. Hii ya kwanza iko naenda hivi 7 to that one, na hii tukarudi hivi. Now in this case now ni the opposite. So tunaanzia ata retain yes 70, ata remain 70, and then ateremke chini. We regain now which percent? Yes. You can see of the last month customers. Of the last month customers. And again, 10% from Y. So we will gain 10% of, we say of Y customers. Of Y customers. Now, can you information? Can you do the other one? This one? Can you do this one? Can you do that one? What will you say? So what now tujibia hiyo tafadhali. Linda, tujibie the other one.
Manufacturer Y will retain 90% of its customers and gain 30%.
Yes, that is correct. So tunasema the data of column itakuwa column what? Column 2, sivyo? Reveals that manufacturer Y will retain 90% of the last month customer. And gain 30% of X customers. Something you need to know when you're talking about the gain, So something you need to notice here, when you're talking about the gain, the key thing you need to remember is we're talking about the last month, the previous period. You're talking about the previous period. So we're talking about the gain, we're talking about the previous period. But when you're talking about the losses, you need to know that you're talking about the coming month, what is coming. We're talking about what is coming. So those are the things you need to notice. So when we talk about the loss, we're talking about the coming. We're talking about the gain, we're talking about the last month. Another thing that you have noticed when we talk about this one, loss, we're talking about the row. When we talk about the loss, we're talking about the row. But when we talk about the gain, we're talking about the columns. We're talking about the columns. So when you are explaining, you need to be very keen of those items. You need to be very keen of those items. You need to be very keen of those items. You need to be very keen of those items. Let us go to our past paper now. Let us go to our past paper. Let us appreciate what we have been doing by going out to our past paper. So there's a question in your star. Which sitting was that? There was a question I told you to put a star. Yes. Ilikuwa gani? Mmesema muongee sasa. To September 2015, 1B. 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 Are you there? So kama uko hapo tusome. September 2015, 1B. 1A, wanasema assumption of Markov. That one we have already provided. Hiyo haina shida. Hiyo haina shida kabisa. So do you have the question with you? So umefika hapo? Na mbona leo amuongei hata. Brenda tusome hiyo swali. September 2015. The question was, I think, was the question number, I don't know, it was number what? Number 1B.
Sijafungua hata simu yangu inataka kuzima kwa 2%. Karibu na check.
Mwingine tusome. Kama Nelsa atusome. Kama kuna mwenye anataka kujitolea. Wah, kuna mwenye anajitolea.
The research industry in your country has 3 market research firms, namely X, Y, and Z. which provides research services. The following data has been collected in relation to the flow of clients among the three firms. Number of clients is at 31st December 2013. X is 408, Y 832, Z 1062. The market share for X is 0.177, for Y is 0.361, for Z is 0.461. Flow of clients gain from X, Y, and Z. Gain from X to Y is 30. And from Z is
Sema tu we have the table afu ende kwa required. Sema tu we have the table as followed. And then ende kwa required.
required. Convert the above data into a matrix of transition probabilities to estimate each firm's market share for 2015.
Thank you very much. So this is how you're supposed to read the question. You say the research industry in your country has three market research, namely X, Y, and Z, which provide the research services. The very data has been collected in relation to the clients among the three firms. Then you say you have the data or the table there. Then you say required. Convert the above data into matrix. Number two, estimate each of the market share in 2015. Now, so we need to compute what are we supposed to compute? So we're supposed to compute this transition matrix. Mute when you mute tafadhali. So how do we formulate that transition matrix from that table? Now let me show you how you convert this one to this transition matrix. It is very simple. It is very, very simple. And remember, as I told you, we shall be using the losses to compute the transition matrix. We shall be using the losses. So in your exam, use the losses. Don't use the gain. Ukitumia the gain, kinaweza kuramba. So use the losses. So can you see the losses? We have the losses X, Y, and Z. I don't know if everyone is seeing that one. Is everyone seeing the losses? So anasema September 2015, question number 1B. Okay, now we are required to compute to come up with the transition probability matrix. Transition probability matrix. So we are to compute the transition probability matrix now, or we call it, you can call it just call it the what? You call it state transition matrix, or state transition, or you can call it all the state transition matrix. Okay, now what you need to know is that use the losses to develop use the losses to develop transition matrix. So use the losses to develop the transition matrix. Use the losses to develop the transition matrix. Now, how do we use the losses? How do we gonna use the losses? Now, this is how you do it. So tutaanza na from. So we shall start from. So you have from, and you have to. So our figure ilikuwa ni x, y, and z. It's supposed to be, why is it that question? X, y, and z. Sawa sawa. So we have x, y, and z. You also have x, y, and z. Then we shall have totals. So this one is very, very important. Totals. We shall also have totals in that format. Now remember, this one is the first we are computing the table. We are coming up with a table first before we come up with the matrix. So we need to come up with a table first before we put in our matrix, our transition matrix. So we need this table first. Inakaa hivyo. Inakaa hivyo. Then we have that one. Inakaa hivyo. You can also put this one ndani hivyo. That table itatusaidia sana. Bas, ukiwa umeshachora hiyo table hivyo, jua wewe umemaliza hiyo swali. Once umechora hiyo swali, umemaliza hivyo. Now, the first thing you need to check, unaenda kwa losses. Do you have the losses? Tuanze kwa x. So we start with the x. What is the what do we have kwa hapo kwa losses? Tuko na x dash. What is y? What's the figure of y? Figure of y? Hapa hatuna kitu, but hapa tuko na something. Tuchangamke. Tumenisaidia jameni. Ehe. Yes. Tumenisaidia jameni. So tuko na x kwa losses. Unaenda kwa loss. Tumesema tunatumia losses. Kwa hiyo table yetu kuna we have the gain and we have the loss. Ukiangalia kwa flow of clients. And hapo kwa flow of clients you have the gain from and you have losses too. So hapo kwa losses too. Tuko na x. Do you have any figure in x?
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes. What's the figure in x? Kwa losses too.
XX, there's no
Except
Why?
upon it that
when that
Alafu next
18.
18. Aya, tuende kwa the second one kwa y. Ukienda kwa y, do you have the figure hapa?
24.
Before. Hapo.
Hakuna.
Next.
14. For Z.
Aya, tuende kwa z. Aya, kwa z, do you have a figure?
40.
40. Alafu
10.
ngapi?
10 kwa y.
10. Vingine haina, sivyo?
Mm.
Aya, now we need to find the total. This total, this one on this side. Now, these totals on this side, you need to be very keen. That total of that side will be equal to the one for the original. What's our original month? Is it 2013 or 2014? Number of clients. Is it 2013 or 2014 as our original date or the original year? Original? What's it? Now, origin 2013. So this one, yes? Origin 2013. So 2013 is 48. 48. We have 812, number of customer, 8 what? 832. 832. And we have another one there, 1062. 1062. Then on the other side, the total on this side. This one itakuwa near 2014. So 2013, so 2014. The 2014 is on the other side, on the right side. We have 424, 424. Tuko na 834, 834, 834, na 1044, na 1044. Now we need to find this figure, the katikati. Now remember we said that ukichukua huyu plus huyu, it must give you 1. So ukichukua probability. So remember in the figure, these are the figures. These are the figures. So remember in the number, they are not probability. But ukichukua probability ya huyu plus huyu inafaa kupatia 1. So which figure inafaa ikuwe hapa ndio when ukipata probability ya zote tatu utapatia 48. Ni kumaanisha 30 plus 18 plus x must be equal to 48. So find this figure. So itakuwa ni 408 minus 30 minus 18. 360. Tuko sawa hadi hapo? 360. Aya. Next. 24 plus 14 plus y, it must give you 832. So what will be the value of y? Itakuwa ni 832 minus 24 minus 14. 794. Are you getting 794? Then 40 plus 10. So 40 plus 10 plus z, which hatujui, was equal to 1062. Itakuwa 1062 minus 40 minus 10. 1012. 1012. That one okay? Tuko sawa? Tuko sawa?
Yes.
Hadi hapo. Na ukiadi hivi, itakupatia the same answer ukiteremka hivi. Just give you the same answer. Yes.
Yes.
Sawa, but now we are interested with the transition matrix. Tunatumia losses. Nasema we shall be using losses. So we have x, y, and z. Then you have 2, x, y, and z. So let's find the matrix, the transition matrix. Let's find the transition matrix. So we say, tusema unafanya aje? Unachukua total. Unachukua the figure here over the total. So ya kwanza ni 360 divided by 48. 360 divided by 48 inakupatia 0.88. 0.88. Ya pili ni 30 divided by 48. 30 divided by 48 inakupatia 0.07. Sivyo iko sawa? And then ya mwisho inafaa ikuwe 0.05. So 18 divided by 48. 0.05. Supposed to be 0.05. 18 divided by 408 natupatia ngapi? 0.04. Mbona 0.88 plus 0.07 plus 0.04. Okay. Acha tuangalie vizuri. 408 0.088 then that 0.07. Anyway, ni sawa. Hata ikiwa hivyo tu haina mambo. Hata ikiwa hivyo haina mambo. But it's supposed to be at least equal 5. Mbona ikuji 5 ama calculate yangu namba 18 divided by 408. 0.04. Sawa sawa, sitakuhusu. Atende ya pili 24. 24 divided by 832. Then it equal to 0.03. Then 794 divided by 832. So 794 divided by 832. Itakuwa ni 0.95. Maisha mwisho inakuwa iko 0.02. So 14 divided by 832. 0.02, yes. So we round off 0.02. Mnaona vile tunasonga? Ikuja kwa mtihani kikurabo useme ukuambiwa. So 40 divided by 1062. 40 divided by 1062. That will be equal to 0.04. So ikuja kwa mtihani unajua kitakuramba. 34. Maajabu ya Musa hii. Hii taarifa nimetoa wapi? So ina supposed to be 40 divided by the 1062. 0.04, sawa? Then 10 itakuwa ngapi? We shall round off. Itakuwa 0.01. So to round off 1 to 2 decimal place. Then ingine itakuwa ni 1012 divided by 1062. 0.95. 0.95. So umeona tuna calculate the transition matrix from the table. So ukumbuke the first thing una input your losses. So the first thing ukipatia hiyo swali, ukiona hiyo swali upatie table kama hiyo. So una input your losses direct. Ndio hizi hapa. These are the losses. Ukiangalia kwa swali, unaweka the losses first. The next thing you calculate the retention. What is the retention? So these are the retention. Ndio hizi hapa. You have the retention. Now how do you calculate retention? Unachukua the original figures. So go back to our notes, uangalie how you are calculating the retention. Niwapatia a particular formula. There's a formula that I gave you. Mnaikumbuka? Ama tuseme Yesu ni Bwana? Amuikumbuki? Who can remind us the formula? Jora sijaiangalia. How to find the retention? So ndio hiyo. So hakuna haja tushinde tukiangalia hiyo formula. So the retention ratio. So how to get the number of retention? Tulisema from the formula ndio hapa nimeipata. The number of retention ama number retained is equal to original number subbed. What's the original number subbed? The so original number subbed, is it 2014 or 2013? What's the original number subbed? Is it 2013 or 2014?
2013.
Yes, 2013. So that was the original. So achukua the original number subbed, you minus the losses. And ndio tumechukua. So for you to get the retention, unachukua 48 minus 18 minus 30. Napata 360. That is our retention. 832 minus 14 minus 24, unapata 794. We repeat the same procedure. And then how do you get the probability? So the probability unachukua the number in each, you divide by the original number. So the number of the number, for example, come out find the retention ratio. So remember we said the retention ratio, remember? Remember the number of customers retained, number of customer retained over the original number served. That was the formula. The retention ratio was the number of the customer retained over the original number served. Now the number of customer retained is 360 divided by original 48 ndio hapa unapata hii. So 360 divided by 48 unapata hiyo. Haya, 794 divided by 832 unapata hiyo. 1012 divided by 1062 unapata hiyo. Then for the rest unachukua the number of the items you divide with the total. So 30 divided by 48 unapata hiyo. 18 divided by 48 unapata hiyo. And the procedure is repetitive in that order. Tuko sawa? Tuko sawa hadi hapo? So that one is how you are supposed to do that question. So part A wanatuambia in that question, requirement part A, convert the following transition matrix. Ndio hiyo 4 marks. This the transition matrix. 4 marks. Number B, estimate each market share in 2015. Now 2015, so tuko 2014. Now number B, hiyo nifanyia hapa. For you to get the 2015, you know, yakuwa ni 2014. You multiply with what? Multiply na nini? Who can tell us which item shall we use to multiply?
Transition.
Yes, transition matrix. Now, what is the rate of 2014? What is the rate of 2014? What will be the rate of 2014? Itakuwa ngapi watu wangu? So we also need to compute that one. Nani atatuchanua hapo? How shall we get the rates? Yes, nani atatuchanua? Do I remember how to compute that one? Yeah. Ama kitaturamba. Kama kitaturamba.
Ukitumia total za 2014.
Totals ya 2014. That is 2014. 2014. So huyu plus who ni ngapi? Hebu add tuone. Add this one. Yatupatia ngapi? 424. 424 plus 834 plus 1044. 2304. So tuanze na the first one ya x. Itakuwa ni 424 divided by 23.
2302, not 04.
Ala, ati umesema ni 424 plus 834 plus 1044. 23002. So let us find the transition matrix, no transition, the state of 2014. So let us find this state. So we need to find for x, y, and z. Yes, we shall use for 2014. That one is correct. So itakuwa ni 424 divided by, so 424 divided by 2302. Narupatia 0.184. 0.184. And then 834 divided by answer itakuwa 0.362. 0.36. Let's round off to 2 decimal place. Tupatie tutumbue. 1024 divided by 2302. 0.44. So itakuwa sawa. So that is it. So tunaweza sema 2015 will be equal to 0.18, 0.36, 0.44. Then you need to multiply with our transition matrix. Itatosha hapo kweli? Let me wacha nivute hapa. Ifanyia hapa chini. Tuone kama hapo itatoshea. So tunasema for you to get the 2015 itakuwa ni our transition 0.18, 0.36, 0.44. Then we need to multiply it with our matrix 0.88, 0.07, 0.05, 0.03, 0.95, 0.02. We have 0.04, 0.01, 0.95. Aya, malizia hiyo. So can you malizia that? So that you can get for 2015. Sio unaweza malizia? Tuko sawa?
Hiyo tunaweza malizia.
Yes. Now your assignment, let me give you your assignment. Assignment, another assignment. That one will be the end of our class for Markov. Assignment. So do this sitting and then the check. June 2011. June 2011. June 2011. Question 1. That is on page. It's on page 63. It's on page 53. So we shall come and do revision for the other question that we stated for 2024 and 2023. So any question up that point? Any question of that point? Yes, Nani. Yes, Osrin. Unasema, what's your question?
Sasa hiyo rotation RR tulisoma wapi?
Uliingia class rate kidogo na kutumia video.
Sawa sawa.
Yeah. So tulisoma au kwa klasi ya asubuhi sivyo?
Ya asubuhi nilikuwa.
Ala. Maybe kuna mahali we missed somewhere. We talked about it. When talk about retention, it's what it remains. Then we have the losses and we have the gains. Anyway, I will share with you the video. Utapitia tena, then you shall also check on it. In case utademewa, you shall find me. Okay, I think that one is all about it for today. So that one marks the end of Markov. That marks the end of Markov analysis. So when we meet on the day after tomorrow, we shall come and do input, output analysis. Input, output analysis. Input, output analysis. So input, output analysis will be the next application. So application number 4. So you see, remember I said an application of matrices. So application number 4, input, output analysis. Input, output analysis. So that will mark the end of our class today. We shall meet tomorrow for FA. We shall have a double class for financial accounting. So it will be a double class. So from in the morning and also after lunch.